Hello sim racers. First off, I'd like to say from the bottom of my heart a big thank you to all of you watching this video, all of those of you who watched my previous videos. Big shout out to my 20 subscribers, all 20 of you. I love you guys. Some of you I'm sure are friends and family, but thank you anyway. And for all of those of you who've engaged with me both here and on social media, I really appreciate it. As you know, the channel has just started and all the engagement really helps, so I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you. We're all joined here in our love of sim racing. Today's topic, why sim racing is like steak, is the first of a potential series of videos. I'm going to call them Just Talk, to discuss topics in and around sim racing, and they're going to be separate from the normal reviews, sim footage and all the other things I put on the channel. But we're going to get to that in just a minute. For now, I just want to establish on record that this channel is really about being positive and for those who want to have a good time with other people who enjoy the same things. I'm no expert and I'm not pretending to be one, so if you are and the content here is below your level and beneath you, no hard feelings, but this isn't really the place for you. Experts of course are welcome, but that's just assuming that they're here to engage in the positivity and sharing a good time with other people. Now on to the meat. Why sim racing is like steak. Maybe I'm off to a bad start because I can already hear people asking, but what of the vegetarian sim racers? And other people chiming in, not everyone eats red meat. But if you bear with me for just a minute, I'm sure you're going to understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going with this. Let's pretend for a minute that steak is the only food that humans can eat, and I hope that covers it. Now, as you know with steak, there are multiple ways to prepare it and to cook it, but there does seem to be a sort of general consensus about how most people seem to like their steak. Here is a visual aid to help everyone understand. With our totally authentic and not fake steak preference chart, we can see at the top the general consensus, most people preferring rare and medium rare. And they happen to view anybody who likes medium very suspiciously. People who like raw steaks, they're accepted as gross. People with medium to well done are often shunned. And then there's my group, the hated and hunted group. I like well done myself. Now I know all this is definitely facts because obviously I've seen this on Facebook multiple times, so the quality of my survey is top notch. We're gonna finish the rest of this video with some footage from my home track, the Toronto Indy, and yeah, I know there's gonna be some questions, but that's all for another time. For most of us, I think it's fair to say that our love of sim racing is really born from a love of motor racing in general, and the way that I feel about sim racing incorporates certain parts of that in the way that I like to go about things. But at the same time, I also understand that it's not real. I'm not being paid by anybody to do this, and I am at home. So being at home, I'm free to obey as many rules as I would like, or to change as many things as I would like to suit my own personal preference. And I think that that's fair to say for everybody, that everybody in their own home with their own sim gear should be able to do whatever it is that they want to do with their sim gear. Essentially, it's your steak. So no matter how you choose to eat your steak, whether it be raw or whether it be burnt to an absolute crisp or anywhere in between, it's your stuff. It's entirely up to you how you engage with your experience with your sim equipment as you would with your steak. It's entirely up to you. So you find that a lot of people in the sim racing community who are purists, anything that seems to go against that, any ways of doing things differently, can sort of strike them as incredibly odd, and it forces people to come out with some absurd reactions, to be honest with you. Considering that, again, this isn't real. We're just at home doing this, a lot of us in our shorts, just chilling at home. So to take on an attitude that we're sort of doing this with the FIA looking on is a bit extreme. I'm not talking about people who go on to online lobbies and disrespect everyone there by being toxic and bumping people off the track and not showing respect. I don't mean it like that, but we also understand that we are at home. For a lot of the purists, the argument is that you're having a sim experience, and as a result of that, you should make it as close to the real thing as possible. But I mean, what is the real thing? How far are you gonna go with that? I mean, I have a wheel and I have some pedals and I have a chair that I sit on that's bungee cord to a wheel stand. Like, what do you mean simulation? How far are we taking this? If I want wind, I guess I turn my fan on. But what are other people doing? I mean, are they putting on race suits and helmets and all this type of stuff? Yeah, sure, I wear gloves and I wear shoes sometimes, but that's just for a little bit of extra immersion. But what do people do? I mean, do people have rain machines if it's in the wet that they're racing in and things like that to fully immerse themselves? I don't think they do. There's a limitation to how far you're gonna go with that. So again, a sim experience, that's fine, but it doesn't have to be exactly like the real thing. And for the purists to sort of freak out when anything isn't being done according to the rules, it's kind of weird, to be honest with you. And it also completely ignores the fact that in real motorsport, the actual stuff that we enjoy watching, cars are set up differently for teammates because they don't have the same driving preferences. So essentially it would be the same car from the same team with two completely different setups. Back in the days, like in the 80s and the 90s, there used to be a spare car in F1, for example, that used to be reserved for the number 1 driver. If the number 2 driver happened to crash out, they would have to customize the third car to the style of the second driver, because most of the time it was set up for the first driver. Guess they like their steaks differently. There's people like Alex Zanardi, who hasn't had no legs forever. There's Billy Munger, the young man from the UK who got damaged in the Formula 3 accident. They drive off of a wheel, like just a wheel. There's no pedals for them, so cars are adapted to suit their style. Robert Kubica from Williams drove a modified car for the 2019 season. Now granted, he came at the back most of the time, but there's things that can be done to accommodate people in different situations. So again, this sort of purist narrative that there's only one way to do things, there isn't. I think it's fair to say that there's a general idea of how we're supposed to go about things. Like, to survive, you have to eat the steak. To participate in sim racing, you're gonna have to do something. But beyond that, I believe it should be completely about freedom of choice, and however you choose to eat your steak is how you should eat your damn steak. Enjoy it, and not have to be sort of looked down upon by other people because they choose to eat their steak in a different way. Again, we're all here just to have fun and to just find our way to connect with the sport that we love. So just remember that, like, just enjoy it, and just remember that everyone's gonna do it differently. People are gonna have nicer equipment than you. There's always going to be somebody with worse equipment than you. There's going to be people who are faster, slower, and all these different things, all these extreme factors. So in all of that noise, just enjoy yourself and eat your steak. And before I go, I'd just like to clarify something. I don't want anyone getting the wrong impression. Alex Zanardi, I believe it was an IndyCar accident that he lost his legs in. It's obviously a very tragic situation. It's not nice to see any of our heroes getting injured in the sport that they love and that we love watching them do. Billy Munger, I think it was F3 or maybe F4. I believe it happened at Donington Park. He had a really horrible accident and lost his legs. That kid is unbelievably courageous. I think I'm gonna link his Instagram in the description for those who don't follow him, because he's a real inspiration. And there's days when we who have our legs might be having a really bad day. It's good to remember people like him who kind of push on regardless of what's going on. And Robert Kubica, I mean, he was a great F1 driver back in his day. He had that rally accident where he damaged his left arm, and obviously that restricted his driving ability to a certain extent. And he was with Williams, so there was more than one factor as to why he was at the back of the grid. But I just wanted to clarify those couple of things before I go. If you've been watching this far, thank you very, very much for watching, and subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more videos. Take care. Enjoy your racing.